Putting the spotlight on small businesses across America. This is Inside Business with Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish.
You're listening to Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish. How you doing today, Gary?
I'm doing good. Showed homes already. It seems to be my Saturday thing now.
You've been busy.
Early morning home showing, which is great because this evening's going to not be a good time probably. Nebraska weather, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. It comes, it goes. It rains, it doesn't rain. It just
snows, it doesn't. My dad would, well, you're new to Nebraska, but my dad would always say, if you don't like the weather here today, just wait 24 hours. We'll have something different.
Yeah.
It's usually right.
I think that's pretty much everywhere, though.
Do you?
I don't know. I've kind of lived all over the place.
I haven't.
Our guest today is Anthony Dudas. You've lived all over the place.
A little bit.
So is it been your same experience?
That is 100% my same experience. Mostly in the upper Midwest, but Minnesota, North Dakota, definitely very similar aesthetic there.
Yeah.
Love it.
So there you have it. Well, our guest, like I said, is Anthony Dudas. He's the executive director. Is it executive director or CEO?
Executive director.
It's the same job. It's the same.
It's just
job.
a title.
It's just a title. Out at the Lincoln Airport, and you've been here about what, 7 months now?
Nearly 6 months.
Nearly 6 months.
Nice.
How many does it feel like?
Feels like it's been about 30 days.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, if you would have said 10 years, I would have been worried.
So it feels like 30 days. So what, you just haven't been doing anything, Anthony? Or what do you mean 30 days?
We've been extremely busy.
I'll bet. No kidding.
It's been a lot of fun.
Well, we were out there for the 1836. That's wrong. What's the runway?
1836.
Yeah, 1836 opening or media day for that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, we were excited to invite all of the people who helped support us to get the funding in place. So it's a massive project, $100 million runway project ongoing. Started the day I started.
Oh, nice.
So it was really great to welcome the media, welcome those delegates and the local stakeholders that really made that possible. It's a huge endeavor and it takes a lot of effort from those stakeholders to get these types of projects moving forward.
And how long is that project going to take? That's a lot.
Yeah, it's scheduled to be about 2 years on the dot.
Okay. That's not too bad. I mean, I figured it'd take longer than that.
It's like, I think 32 inches of me. I mean, that runway is 32 inches deep.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You have to lay all that. It's just
crazy. So they actually dig out. It's nearly 60 inches total depth. As they go all the way down, there's a whole host of challenges associated. Now that runway dates back a long, long time.
Right.
So new design standards, infrastructure standards, new types of materials available. So we've got to flatten it out a little more. It's got some irregularities in it compared to what we designed today. But also recycling old pavement that came out of there. And so it's been going really well. We got a local contractor with constructors doing a phenomenal job with them and their subs.
It's nice.
And our engineering team and our engineering partners are really staying creative. Obviously, with the weather we were just talking about, it can be challenging, especially with the recent rains we've had. That's not real conducive for laying concrete. So
right.
we've got to be nimble. We've got to find solutions for some of the challenges we have.
All right. So I jumped forward like 3 segments there.
You did. That's
just
okay.
Jumping into that. But let's backtrack here a little bit. So what's your background, Anth? Like, how'd you end up in aviation? How, you just have a love for it, or?
Yeah, that's, it's, I kind of fell into it. I don't have a family that's been in aviation in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, okay.
My dad is a retired electrician, and he was doing a runway project at our hometown. I'm from Austin, Minnesota, just on the southern border there. And they had a job available pumping gas into airplanes, scrubbing the bugs off the windshields, and helping the pilots with anything they might need. And I was offered that opportunity. I jumped at it. They brought me up in a helicopter my first day, and I immediately got the itch to start to learn to fly.
From a helicopter.
I know.
So you're a ground up guy.
That.
You started from the ground up. I love that.
Yeah. So I started spending every dime I made learning to fly, and got my pilot's license while I was in high school, and then transitioned into a 4-year institution in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Was offered a role with that airport at the local fixed base operator, St. Cloud Aviation, again, continuing to pump gas and scrub bugs while I was continuing my education. At that time, I finished school roughly 2008 timeframe, and you may recall it was a bit of a rough time in the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We both
buddy.
have stories about that.
And especially in the aviation industry. So I was seeing a lot of my friends really struggling to continue to move forward in that industry and in that career field. And I had clearly been already working on the ground in airports. So I made the decision to stay on the ground. And so I continued working with that organization, working my way up, but was then offered an opportunity in Williston, North Dakota, in an entry-level airport operations role. And in that airport, that was a brand new position. They had just created that position for that facility, and it was a little bit of everything. We were aircraft rescue firefighters. We did all the snow removal. We painted the runways. We cleaned the terminal. We did everything that was necessary to make sure that airport could operate safely. At that same time, North Dakota was experiencing an extremely explosive economic boom due to the hydraulic fracturing.
Fracking.
Yes. So Williston, North Dakota was the epicenter of that activity.
Wow, interesting. I didn't know that.
And they saw 1,000% increase in passenger traffic in a 2-year period.
Wow.
Went from small turboprop aircraft operated by Great Lakes Airlines to Delta and United there with their regional jets going to Denver and Minneapolis. And then we had to do something. And while I was there, I was offered some great opportunities to grow there as well. I was offered the assistant director position in 2013, and then the airport director in 2017. But at that kind of time in 2011, the city and their leadership had determined that we clearly needed to do something with the infrastructure that was there. And I can talk a little bit more about that as we move into the second segment, but we worked through their largest project in their history. It was just under $300 million all in to relocate their airport from its original location 7 miles away to a new facility in a greenfield.
Oh,
built
man.
A whole new airport.
Woo.
Look at you go.
That's big.
Yeah.
Moving an airport.
I thought you were going to start with, like, I was a greeter at Walmart and this like airline agent he said, hey, you want to work at the airport? I love that you work from the ground up. I love that.
Yeah.
It's been a tremendous opportunity. You know, I've worked very hard, but
sure.
I've been very fortunate to be offered the opportunities that I've been able to take advantage of and learn so much along the way and work with some pretty amazing people to get to where I am.
Travis, have you been in a helicopter?
I have.
I have never been in a helicopter. All the different things I've done, I haven't
didn't
done that.
enjoy it.
Really?
I did not enjoy it.
Because you're a pilot, so that's
yeah.
What did you not enjoy about it?
It beats the crap out of you. I mean, it's the old joke is helicopters really don't fly. They just beat the air into submission. And they beat the mess out of you. And then I had the opportunity to fly it, and it's a lot.
It takes a lot of coordination. You got to use all your limbs to keep that thing straight and forward there.
And you get to a point where it's like you've flown airplanes so long, and now you have all this extra stuff going on. It was a lot.
Yeah. Like, where's autopilot?
Yes.
He didn't hop on the plane on the helicopter before we took off.
So wasn't my bag.
That's interesting. I never would have thought. I would have thought it'd be about the same.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I didn't think so.
They're definitely not the same.
Are you a pilot?
I am. So I got my private pilot's license while I was in high school. I continued through my instrument and multi-engine ratings while I was in college. And then that was kind of the point when I made that decision professionally to stay on the ground.
I'm seasoned. Sometime you might look at me and think I heard what you said. So the very first part of what you said, did you say in high school?
Correct. Yeah. So
How
I started
young can you start getting your pilots? Like 16?
I think earlier than that.
You can start
you
learning
kidding?
ahead of time. You can solo an aircraft when you're 16, and you can get your pilot's license when you're 17. I was 18 when I got mine.
Has that always been the rule? Because I'm trying to remember it because it's been so long, especially since I was studying for a private pilot's license. But the rules change so often.
Yes, they do. But I'm not sure if as far as I'm aware, they've been that.
Because I remember when I was in Denver flying, there was a kid that was like 9 or 10 years old that crashed a plane in Cheyenne. No kidding. I'll have to look it up now. It was like a 9 or 10-year-old kid.
Oh man,
that crashed a plane.
Well, I'm very interested with all these flying cars are coming out with. I mean, in Dubai, they just released one I don't know. I'm like, how's that gonna work?
Well, they've had them around forever.
Yeah, but if they become more popular, that people are having them all the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
true.
all, yeah, Jetsons. Here
Did you
we
ever
go.
see the one that they built in the 70s? It looked
No.
like the Mystery Machine off of Scooby Doo.
No, I
with
haven't
wings and a
seen
tail. It was like,
God, I
it was
love
like, oh, I'd fly that, but I wouldn't own that. You
That
know?
is funny. I think we got a break coming.
Yes, we do have a break coming up, which is good timing because you talk aviation and then you get two guys who flew and then it goes crazy. Anyway, you're listening to Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish. We're talking with Anthony Dudas, the executive director of the Lincoln Airport, and we will have more right after this.
And Gary Tharnish.
We're back on Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, talking with Anthony Dudas, the executive director of the Lincoln Airport. And I want to talk about moving an airport because that has to be massive. Because when I was flying, this was way back, they had moved Stapleton Airport, and when they built DIA, and it's like, this is a massive probably much bigger than your project, but still, that's a massive project. Talk about that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that was something, as I was offered the opportunity in Williston, I had this understanding that there was just tremendous economic activity happening in that region. And there was starting to be discussion regarding doing something to fix the facility. That airport dated back to 1947. It was designed for really small aircraft and had never been fully reconstructed. So everything was really undersized for today's aircraft,
Right,
and the level of traffic that is seen, whether that be commercially or general aviation. So as I transitioned into Williston and was able to grow within that organization, I had the opportunity to be part of the planning process, some of those decisions that were made on what we needed to do to make sure that we had a safe and efficient operating environment for aircraft and for the future as well. I had to build it for what they needed today, but also what they need in the future. These airport infrastructure is designed for decades and decades. It's not something that changes rapidly. So, you know, the facilities were designed for these really small aircraft. Really, the runway is only designed for about 25,000 pound airplanes. So those small 50-seat regional jets that everybody is not as excited about today, those are 50,000 pounds. So they were double the capacity of what the runway was able to handle. The terminal facility was actually relatively new there. It was built in 2004, but it was designed to handle 10,000 people flying out of that facility in a year. Mm-hmm. And we were doing that every month. So It was woefully inadequate.
So probably still had stairs going up to the planes.
Yeah, there was no boarding bridges, no restaurant, you know, all those amenities that you should expect in a modern aircraft terminal. We didn't have those luxuries or the opportunity to offer to the community. And really, it was really an interesting dynamic because we had to get so many stakeholders on board. It's a very rural community, and most people don't even know where North Dakota is, let alone why we should spend hundreds of millions of dollars on this infrastructure. So getting the FAA, getting our congressional delegation, getting the state of North Dakota, getting all of the local stakeholders across the counties in that region, the city, to all carry the same vision forward is a huge undertaking. And not by any means was that something that I completely carried in any way, shape, or form. It is so important to have those great relationships and continue to develop those relationships with those different entities to be able to get these types of projects completed. We had the opportunity to host the FAA administrator out there as we were working through really the final decision-making process, the environmental assessment. And I brought him out to the end of the runway. We had a runway that had 100-foot elevation difference, which doesn't sound too much, but it is.
Sounds like a lot to me.
That's a lot.
Substantial.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
When you go stand on the end of the runway, and then there's a hotel on the other end of the runway, and you're 10 or 20 feet above the roof line of that hotel. Plus there's other terrain issues and things of that nature out there. And for those individuals who don't have that opportunity to see it, they just hear what we need, over the phone, through email. For them to see it with their own eyes, it was a game changer.
Mhm.
And that was the hinge point of when we were able to really move forward full speed ahead and get the financial commitment from the federal government. We already had the commitment from the state of North Dakota. They have the luxury of mineral royalties that come in. They
Sure.
all go to the state and then they're reallocated. And they committed $60 million to the project, which is a huge tool in our tool belt as we're working to help justify federal partnership funding as well. So that happened in 2015. We started land acquisition immediately thereafter. We bought 1,600 acres out in the middle of the prairie.
Nice.
And then began the construction of a small city out in the middle of an agricultural field. We had to build roads and water and sewer, all the infrastructure you don't see. But we also had to design and construct the new modern facilities for what they needed. The terminal, which turns out we had the same architect that Lincoln had. So a very familiar facility. But the runway sizing, separation of pavements, making sure that we're partnering with our general aviation tenants so that they come with us to the new facility. And then just making sure that our stakeholders and our local folks are aware of why we're doing what we're doing. It was a huge project. $273 million for our inaugural airport, which the day we opened, that was the amount that it cost. And then we still had to decommission the old site, 800 acres of now readily developable property in the center of that community. And we had some other infrastructure items that had to continue to be constructed, like crosswind runway and things of that nature at the new facility.
So did you close the old airport down there?
That's correct.
Okay. That's because sometimes there's a lot of people that fight to keep those airports open.
Is Midway still open in Chicago?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Southwest still landing.
Yeah.
That's always fun to drive out of.
Yeah, of course, that was a topic of conversation. Airports are enormously expensive to operate, and the infrastructure, even just for maintenance and ongoing upkeep, is extraordinarily costly. And so for the amount of activity in that region, it just didn't make financial sense to have two operational airports in that vicinity. So that's why it was so critical to maintain and develop those relationships with all of those stakeholders so that they felt heard and had that opportunity to voice their opinions, their concerns, and we could bring that input in and help develop facilities that met their needs at the new airport.
So how big is Williston? I'm not even familiar with where it's at.
Yeah, so
it's at North Dakota. It's just above Michigan.
Okay, so still in the United States then?
Yeah, kind of. I can't remember. Anyway,
we're
sorry.
further north than parts of Canada, but
you have more than one coat for sure.
It's in the northwest corner of North Dakota.
All right.
So it's right next to Montana and Saskatchewan, and it, as I mentioned, the epicenter of oil and gas activity there, and really is just the community size is about 35,000 people today.
Wow.
In 2010,
Yeah.
It was 10,000 people.
I was just going to ask that. I said, you mean you're talking infrastructure everywhere when fracking came in. I mean, suddenly you need big equipment on roads that haven't probably been built or maintained for that. I mean, it was everything, I would guess.
Yeah, it was a really eye-opening experience when I moved to that community sight unseen with a interview over the phone. Driving in there in 2011 was it was the Wild West. The roads were inadequate for the heavy truck traffic, so there was huge potholes everywhere.
Sure.
Housing was impossible to find. If you could find a 2-bedroom apartment, you were paying $4,000 a month. Most
Are you
people,
kidding?
It was.
Did I hear that? 4,000?
Correct. It was the most expensive place to live in the country at that time.
Wow.
And so most people were living in campers. You drive in, Walmart parking lot full of campers. They're using the trees for clotheslines. Walmart can't keep their shelves stocked, so all their products are just in pallets in the center of the aisles. It was kind of a modern day gold rush.
That would be an experience.
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
And so because of that, the community has had to invest in all areas of infrastructure.
Right.
We're talking about the airport today, but water, sewer,
Housing, just housing,
yeah.
and that
Incredible
brings
amount of
on a
housing.
ton of extra people. To
Absolutely.
do
Yeah.
everything.
So, and the state has invested in highway infrastructure, and really it's so amazing to look back on where that community was and how they've grown and really harnessed the needs and made taken that vision and brought it to reality.
How did the state legislature deal with the mineral rights revenue they were getting? Does it all have to be put back into infrastructure and everything for the massive amount of growth that it was having so fast? Or
Yeah. So initially they had to do a lot of change legislatively
I would think so.
to create new buckets of money. They really created, and I'm very much paraphrasing this, but they basically created two large buckets of money. One goes into a fund. It's their trust fund that they don't touch. So this is the rainy day fund, and the other goes into a fund where the legislature allocates that out. They have a complex formula on how that goes, but ultimately it goes back to different political subdivisions.
Okay. That's interesting. Government and complex. Okay. That sounds so familiar.
So when I would imagine 10,000 people, Class D airport, right?
Class E. Yeah. So non-towered.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. That's pretty. So there's 4 classes of airport, which is B, C, D, and E. But you would never think airlines going in and out of an E. Was it a Class E when you moved it?
It was.
It's still a Class E.
It's pretty challenging to get new towers constructed today.
Interesting. Well, that might be a topic of conversation as we move forward here. So you're listening to Inside Business. I hear the music coming on, so I know we got to run to a break. So you're listening to Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, talking with Anthony Dudas from the Lincoln Airport. And when we come back, it's 5 takeaways time. So stick around.
Filing and Gary Tharnish.
We're back on Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish. We're talking with Anthony Dudas, the executive director at the Lincoln Airport, and it's 5 takeaway times. I love 5 takeaways.
Yeah,
it's such a good segment. This is where you give 5 pieces of advice, information off to our listeners that they can apply to their business, to their job on Monday morning. So let's just jump right in. What's that first piece of advice you want to hand off?
Yeah, first one, great leaders build great teams. No leader does it all. It's impossible. You need to make sure that you're building your teams up to help support all of those initiatives that need to be done, making sure that they're supported in training and have the tools at their disposal, and they have the trust and they're empowered to make those things happen.
I think that's the toughest job when you're in business and you start out by yourself. And then you start hiring people, empowering them to make decisions, and more importantly, allowing them to make decisions that are wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah, failure
it's
is
tough.
important. Yeah, making a mistake is very important. And it
Best
happens
way
all
to
the time.
learn.
And your reaction to it as a leader is vitally important too, right? And then also just making sure they have what they need to succeed in the first place.
Yeah.
I've seen that go south, where you have a team, but they're given a job, something they need to do, but they don't have the tools necessary. So
Yeah.
that's very important too.
Years ago, we had a gal that worked for us. She was with us for like 10 years, Lacey. She was awesome.
Yeah, I remember Lacey.
And she was really new to the job. And I'm trying to remember what it was. She forgot to turn off some pay-per-click ads for a client. And it ended up costing us like 8-10 grand. And she was certain she was going to get fired. And I walked in, I said, okay, what happened? We kind of dissected, how it went down. And I go, okay, well, what did you learn? Well, I learned this, and I'm going to do this, and this will never happen again because I have these fail safes in place. And I said, okay, great. Gave her a hug and walked away. And that was it. It's like, I empowered her to make those decisions, and we've all made errors. We've all made errors with commas involved,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I made a mistake once.
But
Sorry.
That would be agreeing to co-host the show. Was
Every
that the
hour.
mistake?
I meant to say every hour. Where I messed up. It is so true, though. And as a leader, your reaction to that mistake makes all the difference in the world.
It does.
She probably, I mean, imagine how she felt after that.
I could have beat her up. It wouldn't have done any good.
No.
The problem already happened. And it's like you empowered her to make the decision. And yeah, I'm sure she didn't feel great after the conversation,
Well,
but
besides
she felt secure.
Besides my dad always saying, measure twice, cut once. One of his other things was, it's not the mistakes you make in life, it's what you do about them that's important.
Yeah.
And that's really true. If you carry that into your being as a leader, you know, people sense that and know that, and that empowers them to, because they want you to succeed then as well.
Absolutely.
Right. And some people lead from just the constant fear, you know, and then all the people on the teams under you are kind of like, oh, that guy fails. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to do my job because I need income. But
Well, and if you don't empower your employees to make decisions, they're going to be miserable.
Mhm.
And if you're fearful of if something goes wrong, the hammer's going to drop. That means your employees are going to be constantly looking for other opportunities.
Or over their shoulder, or
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, it just it doesn't work.
So you walked into an airport with a lot of teams when you came here. How's that been? What'd that look like for you?
You know, that's been one of the blessings of stepping into this new role in Lincoln. Is the team here is just truly phenomenal. I've got such a great supporting team that had, you know, with the current momentum in air service, we've got an amazing team handling the runway project and several other projects that we have ongoing as well. And we have all of the other people that make the airport operate on a day-to-day basis in our operations and maintenance team, our police department, our customer service team. All of those people are so critical to having our community have a good experience and just maintaining safe operations. And they are doing a great job. There's nothing that needs some immediate fix or change. There's always room for improvement. And we're going to continue to work towards that.
Sure.
But it has been a true blessing to be able to step into a team that's been well constructed and they work so well together.
That's
nice.
awesome. Let's hit that second piece of advice you want to hand off.
Yeah, and we already kind of segued into it. Communication solves most problems, and being able to communicate effectively is just so critical to the challenges that we face day in and day out. And as I mentioned with our team that we have, we communicate really well together. But we need to support each other when we make mistakes, when we have challenges that maybe we haven't faced before, so that we can work together to solve those. But I think in my experience in a leadership role, communication is truly the cause of most challenges in the work environment. And finding ways, everybody receives information differently. I say one thing to you, you're going to hear it differently than when I say the same thing to you. And being able to navigate different personalities, different people are in different parts of their life. They may have something going on outside of work, and being able to understand that and evolve your communication style to ensure that you're effectively communicating with them and learning from each other is just such a critical piece.
When I had my business for 38 years, I found myself saying this phrase a lot. That's not what I said. And then, it was just like flew out of my mouth all the time. So now in real estate, where you're dealing with people at a real important time, right? They're buying a house and you don't want to, I'll often say now, I'll talk about, I say, what did you hear me say? And it is shocking the answers that you get. Like, I think I mentioned this before on the air, but from the time you write an offer until closing, don't take out a new credit card, don't take out a new loan, And then I'll go, okay, what did you hear me say? Well, if I want to trade my truck in, I can do that, but the payment shouldn't be too much higher. What? Here's
the point.
I just don't remember saying that. But then it helps because then the communication becomes more important, where it's like, absolutely not, But I would imagine at your level, you want to make sure everybody's clearly understanding everybody. And words help.
And that's tough because I'm one of those where, like, for example, we have a gal, Nadine, who works for us. She's great. She's the one that chops up the show for the podcast and everything else. And I was explaining to her how to do it. And I'm one of those where I over explain and complicate it by trying to make it easy.
That would be me. I think I do that.
And that's on me. That's not on her. It's on me. And so trying to like hone my skills as a communicator, which luckily I have Shannon. Shannon goes, okay, we're all going to get together and I'm going to translate Travis complication into easy understanding. But if you're not a great communicator, that's something you also have to take into consideration.
Yeah, you communicate like an IT guy, where they sit down, they go, you just do this, click, 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 click. I'm like, okay, can we go back to the first click?
Yeah.
I don't even know where you are.
When it's crystal clear in my brain, it's like, how easy is this? Why can't you do this? This is easy.
I think that's you touched on a point where, I take that as a responsibility of my own. And I think that's such an important aspect of leadership is if you misheard what I said, that's not your fault. That's my fault for not being a clear communicator and understanding how you're receiving that information.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. And off air, we were talking about going the CFI route, certified flight instructor route. I didn't do it because I would be a horrible flight instructor. You said you didn't do it. It's like, it's communication to be tough, understanding. And yeah, that's crazy. Well, let's move on to that third piece of advice. What's that third piece of advice?
Number 3, long-term planning matters. And it can't be more true in the aviation environment. As we talked a little bit about my previous role in long-term planning, to get to a point where they had a facility that would meet the needs of that community and that region long-term. Some of the decisions that were made decades and decades ago allowed development to occur and things of that nature that were prohibitive for expansion and the ability to meet those needs on the existing site. And, as I've entered into the Lincoln role here, we've had this phenomenal property, more than 5,000 acres, that we are responsible for as a team. And there's a lot of conversations that we have internally. We never would have thought or could have envisioned this area being built out. And now we're at a point where, oh my goodness, we're out of space in these areas. And there are certain areas where we're like, oh man, I probably wouldn't have done that if, hindsight's 2020. Of course, it's really easy to look at it now.
Right.
But stepping in and so we take that as an airport as we look to the future and initiate some new planning efforts that we're planning to do here moving forward. That's where we want to make sure we're looking at these with a really wide lens and where do we want these spaces to be 10, 20, 50 years from now so that we're protecting those uses, even if we know it's not realistically going to happen here in the shorter medium term, but to make sure that we're setting the airport, setting the community up for success long term.
Yeah. So certainly you're planning landing pads for flying cars, right? And then they can transition and go into the garage.
We do have vertiports planned. That's part of our vertiports.
Vertiports. I love it. No, honestly, that's going to be happening.
Maybe
in our lifetime.
At some point.
In our lifetime?
Yeah,
I
think so.
Lifetime.
I think it'll happen in our lifetime.
Okay.
Yeah, technology moves fast. My grandmother lived to 110. When I listened to her tell her story of all the stuff she saw in 110 years, and she talked about the first 65 years of her life and said that was nothing compared to the next 10 years, which was nothing compared to the next 5 years, which was nothing compared to because it moves that fast. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that's true.
Just get ready for me to be in a little flying car right behind you, Travis. You think I'm a bad driver?
I don't want to be in
a
regular car with you now.
I love it. Yeah, we went to the concert last night and everybody goes, who's going to drive? And they're like, in unison, all three legs, not Gary. Anyway, I'll leave before you do. You'll be fine, Anthony.
Well, let's move on to that fourth piece of advice you want to hand off.
Yeah. So number 4, growth requires infrastructure. And fortunately, stepping into the role here in Lincoln and similarly in my previous role in Williston, the investments made by the community, having the support of the community first and foremost, but also, of course, all the other stakeholders involved to ensure that we are looking to the future. We talk about planning. Now, how do we make sure and prepare and get to a point where we can support that growth that we have planned for? We've got a $100 million runway reconstruction project that's going to help support ongoing operations at the airport over the next 40 to 50 years. And we've got a brand new terminal renovation and expansion that opened back in 2023.
Which is really nice, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you, but that is really, really a nice facility.
It is truly a beautiful facility, and it has the amenities and the quality of service that people should expect in our community. If they haven't had a chance to come visit Lincoln, I hear that a lot flying out of the Lincoln airport, or even just coming to see what it looks like today. It is a phenomenal facility for our region. But without the foresight to move forward with some really critical but strategic infrastructure investments, we wouldn't be able to support now our new air service with American Airlines, our new air service with Breeze, our expanded service by United to both Chicago and Denver. Those wouldn't necessarily be a reality with our former facility, and it would be really prohibitive for those air carriers to come in and make investments in our community. So making sure that we are looking at our roads and our parking and our terminals and our industrial park area, our general aviation community, partnering with our military partners on the airfield, and strategically investing where it's needed to meet our long-term goals through those planning processes.
So did you have any military up at Williston? Like
nothing based
guard
there,
or anything, nothing based there. So that's got to be a big change for you coming into here.
It is, absolutely.
Because just listening when we were out there, like the partnership, that's a big partnership, and certainly helps with expenses at some point. I would think that you can share some of those.
Well,
I mean, maybe not.
Point at the runway project right now. It's a $100 million project. $45 million is coming from the military.
Yeah.
That's huge to ensure that they can continue to meet their mission for national and state defense, but also so that we can support our civilian side of the airfield as well.
Yeah, I've landed on that runway a lot.
Oh,
yeah. So that runway will be one of the largest in the country, right?
That's correct.
Okay, it used to be like one of the top 5 longest. Is it?
I don't know the exact statistic
anymore. Okay,
it's for sure in the top 10. I mean, a 13,000. It's just under 13,000 feet. It meets the needs of just about every aircraft, especially civilian aircraft in the world.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was always like, why didn't the shuttle land there just one time? It would have been so cool.
It could have.
I know that's the thing.
Yeah.
It was like,
I mean, when you think 13,000 feet, that's 2.5 miles. That's a lot of runway.
What is the average length of a runway for a small jet that you would need?
I would probably say 8,000.
Yeah, it's about 7,500 feet.
Yeah.
Really? That's a long runway then.
Yeah, it is.
Nearly double.
Long. Yeah.
And like most of your major airports, you're 10, 11,000 feet. So I mean, when you add a couple thousand, that's another half a mile. That when you come into Lincoln, have you flown into Lincoln as a pilot?
Yes. I have.
It's kind of like, it's almost an optical illusion when you get out there, like on a long final or something, you're like, it just kind of plays something with your brain. Like
it's so long.
It's so long.
Yeah. All of the aviation infrastructure at the Lincoln airport it's been honestly a challenge to wrap my mind around the apron sizes that have supported the military long before our current situations. The runway lengths, the pavement strengths that we have are because of those military partnerships. And so to look at it even on an aerial map is really, it can be deceiving how the magnitude of the infrastructure we have.
So for people listening that may not know what that is, apron.
Yeah. So that's the parking area, the parking lot for aircraft.
Okay. Aircraft parking lot. Got it. Is there a okay. Earlier when you were talking about Williston, when I think of the Lincoln airport, there's the long runway and the other runway, and they both run like north to south. Do we have
we do.
Is it
so
called a crosswind
runway. And so it supports if you are flying over the next 2 years, you will land on it.
Okay. Is it newer?
It is more recently reconstructed than our primary runway. But that runway is allowing us to support commercial aviation today. Our
Okay.
other parallel runway that's further to the east is not long enough for most regional aircraft.
Got it. Okay.
Well, let's go to that last piece of advice.
Yeah, and this one, just to drive home the point of relationships really drive opportunities.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about, our military partnerships in Lincoln, but all of the things we're able to do at the Lincoln Airport today are because of the support of our community. They are the driving force behind us being able to attract new air service to the community, being able to support our industrial tenants, being able to support all of the general aviation activity happening on the airfield. If we didn't have that support, the airport would look dramatically different today. So making sure that we're continuing to foster those partnerships, develop those, but also making sure that we are staying engaged with all of those other stakeholders that we have at the federal, state, and local levels is just absolutely critical to the success of this critical piece of infrastructure for economic development, for us to grow as a community into the future.
Yeah. I can see huge growth for the airport in my silly little mind in the future. But I think a lot of it is going to hinge on marketing, because people get into habits, and there's a lot of people that, like today when I search flying to, SFO, for example, because my son, daughter-in-law, and grandkids are out there. It used to be out of Lincoln is like, there's a choice. Well, Denver, and now it's like so expanded. It's nice, but you get into a habit of not doing that over the years, and people are going to start. That's why people need to get out to the airport and see it if you haven't been out there.
Yeah,
I agree,
sure,
because it's really, really outstanding.
Well, I know we have a break coming up here, so let's run to that real quick. When we come back, I want to talk about just taking over the airport and just some of the trials and tribulations, some of the experiences you've had taking over a larger opportunity.
Great.
So you're listening to Inside Business. Travis File and Gary Tharnish talking with Anthony Dudas, I keep wanting to say CEO because it's the same. It's the same thing. Remember that ad? No. Anyway, we'll talk to Anthony a little bit more right after this.
Filing and Gary Tharnish.
We're back on Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish talking with Anthony Dudas, the executive director of the Lincoln Airport. I got it that time.
You did good, right? You did good.
It's almost like I should do this professionally. I'm telling you. Something I want to talk about. So coming from Williston to here, you're taking over it's obviously a bigger airport, a lot more employees. So what is something that Dave did really, really well that you've kind of brought into your fold, so to speak?
Yeah, we already talked about it a little bit, but I can't emphasize enough how strong that team is and our executive leadership on the way that we are able to work together and identify solutions to the challenges that we face. Things pop up. We're working through some pretty tremendous growth, some challenging projects that are going on. And making sure that we're being transparent and coordinating with stakeholders. That area has been just a breath of fresh air as I walk in, that I have that supporting cast and the board that I report to. It's 5-member elected board. So those of you who are voting, you choose our bosses at the airport, and they have a shared vision. They put together a strategic business plan with 5 strategic goals and a whole host of other details associated with that, with a plan for the future of what the Lincoln Airport should be for our community.
Yeah.
And our executive team is working full speed ahead to make those things come true.
Like, I'm going to stay with the exact subject here. So I was thinking last night before I went to bed, knowing that we are going to be talking to you today, I'm like, airport. And I'm like thinking, for years, there was a time where there were very few choices to fly out of Lincoln, And so I flew out of Omaha a lot. And I got to thinking about, we've talked about this before, where maybe it's $100 a ticket more to fly out of Lincoln, or 75, whatever it might be, a little bit more. Right. And you think, well, I'm going to save if I drive to Omaha and stuff. And I got to thinking about how many mornings I got up at 3:30, had to get ready to go by 4. If you know me, that's like not, it's just, I'm never ready, and then get everything, hop in the car, drive to Omaha, have to park, which is fun. And right. All of that. Sometimes I'd go to Omaha and stay in a hotel the night before because I had to get up so early. And it's like, do the math, Gary.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's going to be a big change moving forward. I think people will start having that mindset.
Yeah, and so that's something that really we hit the ground running when I got into this position. Is our board partnering with the chamber set up some really intimate roundtables with business leaders in our community to hear what frustrations, challenges, their feedback about the utilization of the Lincoln Airport. Because as I mentioned, we need the community support to be able to support air service, to be able to develop that and grow it in the future. If you aren't even looking at the Lincoln Airport as an option, then we're failing as an organization. And that's, you hit the nail on the head. People in our community have been trained to not look.
That's just
at
it.
Lincoln.
Right.
And I would say this on the opposite side for our listeners that are up in Omaha and around Omaha, they should also be looking at the Lincoln Airport because I'm trying to think of what it was like October, November. I flew my mom. She lives in Denver. I flew her into the Lincoln Airport. It was $40 cheaper.
Well, remember the last time we went to SFO to see the grandkids last summer. It was cheaper flying out of Lincoln than Omaha.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? And I would not, like, I tell so many lies. I have to say, honestly, but no, I mean, honestly, in the past, I may not have even looked at Lincoln as an option. So,
yeah. And then when you start factoring in parking,
everything.
Parking is getting insane. I'm not trying to, put Omaha's stuff in the street here, but when we had season tickets for years to the Browns, my son and I, we'd go up to Omaha because we get a quick flight to Cleveland. Because there's no direct flights to Cleveland because nobody wants to go to Cleveland.
Everything's out.
But we would get there. We'd come here. We'd do the show, drive to Omaha on a plane, come back. We'd get home Sunday about 10 o'clock and parking was $60.
Oh, yeah.
$60.
Yeah. And so we've taken that and as we met with business leaders, those are things we heard and we're asking our community to see if Lincoln can meet your travel needs. We're not going to meet every schedule, every direct destination yet. We're going to continue to strive to improve. But we have tools at our disposal as well on our website. There's a cost comparison calculator. So if you can tell it what your time is worth when you're driving and put your zip code in.
Wait, back up right now. So we have an app.
Yeah. So on our website,
on the website,
LincolnAirport.com, you click, there's a cost comparison tool right there on the front page. And it'll populate, you put your airfares in that you've received from your airline that you're looking at, and it'll calculate parking. It'll calculate your mileage costs, your hourly rate, if you have an hourly rate or not.
Yeah.
And tell you transparently what's the better opportunity between Lincoln, Omaha, and Kansas City.
I used to hate driving back into Omaha like the worst part of vacation was being gone for 2 weeks. Landing in Omaha, tired, sunburnt, whatever it might be, then you got to get in your car and drive for an hour.
Well, and that's something that we're really focusing on is that customer experience, the quality of life that can be offered by utilizing your local airport. You can get through our TSA in 10 minutes. I hear it regularly. I left my front door and I was at the gate for my aircraft in 15 minutes. You can't do that at most airports. And we have a great restaurant. We have a beautiful facility, and we have a lot of air service.
That restaurant is real good, by the way. I'm glad you brought that up. Like, I would almost go out there just to eat. Honestly, which just sounds funny, but it is really, really good. Very good. Well, we had Corey on recently, Emeritus Wealth Builders, Wealth Advisors.
Yep.
And he talked a lot about, he's got a lot of clientele in Chicago. He goes, I hop on the plane in the morning, go to my meetings, and be back here in Lincoln that night. That's great.
Yeah, that's time saved.
Yeah.
Time is money, especially in business. But also, people want convenience. And so we're striving. Our airline partners are working really well with us. We're up 75% in capacity over last year.
Wow. Oh, that's so awesome. Good to hear.
So
good.
We need the support of the community to continue to fill those seats.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people fly out of Kansas City from up here.
I never have.
I've done it once.
It's usually
brutal
international travel as far as what I've learned
sense.
so far. So occasionally people are willing to drive in the Midwest for the right price, especially when you're flying with a big family. It matters.
It would have to be a really good flight. If I go down to Kansas City and my international flight drops me at Newark for a while, I'm not going to be very happy.
Well, you want an experience. We did it one time, drove to Kansas City, then flew Spirit out to Vegas. You want to know why if you don't know why they went out of business, you've never flown Spirit.
I never have.
Yes. So you have no idea why they went out of business. It was for a reason. Anyway.
Well, now you can fly direct to Vegas out of the Lincoln
That's
Airport
right.
on Breeze.
Which is great.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Well, we have another break coming up here, so let's run to that real quick. You're listening to Inside Business. Travis File and Gary Tharnish talking with Anthony Dudas, the executive director of the Lincoln Airport. And when we come back, it is This Needs an Adjustment. Stick around.
Gary Tharnish.
We're back on Inside Business. Travis File and Gary Tharnish talking with Anthony Dudas, the executive director of the Lincoln Airport. And it's time for This Needs an Adjustment. Things in business, things in industries sometimes need an adjustment. And this is where we share some advice just from osmosis, things you've learned along the way. So what have you had in your career that needed an adjustment?
Yeah, airports sit in a unique situation in that we're a government entity, obligated federally. So we see a whole lot of strings attached to all the things we do, but also kind of federally obligated to operate as a business. We are required to be as self-sustaining as possible. By nature of us taking federal grants, that is a requirement. So there's a lot of rules and regulation around the rates and charges that we are required to assess and how we operate as a business. Many people, especially at small airports, think that we're able to just go hire an airline and they come provide services to our community. But really, we're a landlord. We own and operate the facilities. We own the property, but those private businesses operate within our facility. So with that, we don't have a lot of control, almost no control really, over the training and the equipment and the level of staffing that they have, the number of times they're flying their aircraft in and out a day. That is entirely market driven. However, we do have some tools at our disposal to help support and incentivize changes in that. And, we can set some levels of service standards as far as hours of operation and things of that nature. And, Lincoln specifically has supported incentivizing new air service to the communities. And it is an incredibly powerful tool in this day and age in airline planning. Resources and labor is at an all-time high. And the resources, their aircraft specifically, are extremely limited. There's not a lot of new small regional aircraft in the world. There are almost none being built today. So airports our size are competing with other airports our size for those same resources, whether that be pilots, flight attendants, the aircraft that they're flying. So having these tools at our disposal to incentivize their operation to come and build sustainable business practices, I liken it to, a small business. Many times when you're starting, kind of a startup, how many years does it take to get into sustainability? It doesn't typically kick off right away. It's, a couple year process to build that business and that customer base. And that's exactly what we're leveraging these tools to do. These tools are not intended to be used in perpetuity. It's intended to help support, get over that initial hurdle of kind of helping. We mentioned educating the community on the services that are available already and looking at Lincoln first and foremost, and getting them to learn, we have these new air carriers, American Airlines going to Dallas, Fort Worth and Chicago and soon to be Phoenix. We have Breeze going direct to Orlando and to Vegas. But many people don't necessarily know that that's happening. And these tools help us kind of get over that initial hurdle of the gap in revenues versus expenses. So that in my opinion, is probably the biggest misconception that the general public has about airports and the level of control we have over that. But we're also want to and are a gateway to the community. We are the first thing people see when they're coming to Lincoln and the last thing they experience as they're leaving to go back to wherever they may be.
Yeah.
And we want that to be an amazing experience. And that's something that our board vision, it starts at the top and has really pushed and stepping in, we already do a great job, but there's always room for improvement. I mentioned that a couple times. And, with our customer service teams, our ops, everybody at the airport has a responsibility and has an opportunity to continue to work to improve that experience so that people want to, they come, they have a great experience, even when things go wrong. Air travel is subject to all sorts of outside circumstances, whether that be weather or maintenance or what have you.
You name it.
Things will go wrong. How do we respond? How do we support and make sure that we make that as seamless as reasonably possible?
Yeah. I was on a flight delayed once because the coffee pot wasn't working properly. And we're in Denver and the flight's full. And I mean, literally they had, in the pilot finally comes on and he's like, well, you could tell he was frustrated. And he goes, well, there's some more boxes that have to be checked, so on and so forth. And we're now like over an hour delayed out or whatever. And somebody in first class stands up and turns around and he goes, if everybody on this plane can handle not having coffee, I'll buy anybody a coffee they want at Starbucks when we land. Can we just take a vote and go? And the pilot must have heard it because he comes back and goes, sadly, no.
Yeah.
We got to wait till it's ready.
Yeah.
You never know when you're flying. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that about airports. It's the first thing you think about going into a city. So in 2001, I did a show up in Fargo, North Dakota, and nothing against Fargo, North Dakota. It was the people there were amazing. I had a great time. But what I remember is flying into the airport. It's freezing. There was a lot of snow. Surprise, 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 because it was January. And we were able to land, which was questionable, I guess, when we took off in the air. They're like, well, we might. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, but that airport, when we came out of the gate, the hallway was so narrow. You just felt like you were, how when they put cattle into the thing and it gets smaller and smaller, get out. And literally when people are like, what'd you think of Fargo? I'd be like, the airport was so small. It really wasn't, but that's still what I remember. Yeah. And now you fly into Lincoln, it's really, really a nice airport.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
I've been talking to some people that have flown in that are just like, man, your airport is really, really nice. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
I still hear that when I'm up in the concourse, people are getting off the airplane. A lot of people haven't been in since we remodeled.
Right, yeah.
Are we in Lincoln?
Yeah,
it's just a whole different experience when we have a facility that meets those needs and is comfortable and has that quality of service built into it.
And it was built for growth. That's what I really love about it. It's not like, for some reason, schools, for example, right? They build them to, my kids went to Roper Elementary, right? So when they started at Roper, that school was fairly new, and it outgrew itself in a year and a half. It was great long-term planning. It's crazy.
Well, you want funny?
Yes.
When you look at the Lincoln Airport and how beautiful it is, have you guys ever flown into the Cleveland Airport?
I have.
Okay. There's so many airports that you go to. If somebody blindfolded you, you walk through the airport and said, which airport do you think you're in, or which city do you think you're in? If you looked at Lincoln, you'd think, no, there's no way. This place is beautiful. But if you fly into Cleveland, someone goes, you're in Cleveland, you'd go, yeah, I believe that. It Lord. Is that bad. The Lincoln Airport side by side is night and day different betwing the Cleveland Airport.
Anthony, he grew up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
I go
for
back
listeners
every week for all fall long. But Dave Herring, he had a buddy that ran the Cleveland Airport, and I go, tell him to run a vacuum cleaner through this place every once in a while. And I was not joking either. I don't think he did it, but anyway. Well, I know we have a break coming up here, so let's run to that. This was This Needs an Adjustment, sponsored by Ascend Chiropractic, and we will have more right after this.
And Gary Tharnish.
And we're back for the last segment. It goes so quick, doesn't it?
It flies by, especially when you have a great guest like
Yeah.
Anthony. Makes a big difference.
I agree. Well, in this last segment, I want to talk about, let's just talk about the airport in general, because a lot of people don't realize how important an airport is to a community, to infrastructure, to business. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, and it's not just, flying in and out for residents.
Yeah.
It's so much more. And
Yeah,
people really don't know that
Yeah, absolutely.
in general.
Everybody, general public specifically, when they think of the airport, they think of our terminal and the airlines that are
Correct.
supporting
Yeah.
their travel. And justifiably so. That's typically what they see.
Right.
The airport is a much bigger operation, especially here in Lincoln, has some unique characteristics that many airports don't have. We're fortunate to have a huge land mass, more than 5,000 acres, and having the military presence first and foremost, but also our general aviation area on the east side of the airport with some really phenomenal operators over there and world-class facilities is really constrained. We don't have a lot of opportunity for growth anymore. So we're looking at opportunities to help support that looking into the future. The biggest area that we're really focused on right now is our enterprise park. Most know it as the air park. It's the west and northern side of our facility, and it former Air Force Base has a ton of really great infrastructure, but has been really underutilized during its life.
Yeah, I know just what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so one of the things as we look to the future, we're going to institute a strategic plan for that space specifically. We have a master plan for the overall airport, but this area that, in my opinion, and the feedback I've received from almost everyone, is that we really want to see some change and some method to the madness of what's happening over there. There's some piecemeal developments that have happened over the years, and they're really great operators. We have some amazing businesses that operate on that side, but we have a growing community on that side now as well. We've got a new high school. We've got Arnold Elementary over there. There's new housing developments happening. How do we make sure that that area of the airport fits within the community growth plan and has the right plan in place that we can, as the airport, market that to those businesses that would look to develop? And how can we maybe as the airport be the developer out there as well? So that's something that the public will see. We'll be getting feedback from stakeholders over the next 6 to 12 months as we work through that planning effort. And then we're going to activate and look to do some infrastructure investments to help bring that to reality.
Yeah.
We have so much going on, and air service is definitely a high priority for the airport as well. As I mentioned, we're going to be up more than 70% year over year just this year alone, and that growth rate is unsustainable.
No way.
Turns out, I hope we continue to see growth, and we plan to continue to see growth, but it's not going to be to that magnitude. So our major effort has focused from going out and really pounding on the doors of airlines to educate them about the opportunities here in our community, to bring that local flavor to them that they can't just find on Google and through their typical data metrics that they're looking at, bring them useful data that they can action upon. Now we're marketing. We need to make sure that our community, that our region, we're not just a Lincoln airport. While we sit in Lincoln, we support a pretty wide area of potential passengers. So making sure that those community members in that region know of these new services and look to see if it's an option that fits within their travel needs. That's not to say we're not continuing attracting new service as well, but it is a little bit of a shift in focus to make sure that we're building these new services into sustainability.
Yeah, I love to hear that. And it's a great shift in focus, because I think knowledge is power, lack of it is weakness, right? And I think that's a lot of it with the community here that doesn't really know what everything they're doing out at the airport. I'll suggest to people, hey, let's go look at this house. And I'm like, well, where is that? Well, it's Northwest Lincoln. But that's an air park? I don't want to. I go, well, hang on. I know you've lived in Lincoln for a while, but it's not at all so it's the perception. And that type of marketing, I think, is going to be so vital for the continued growth and expansion of the airport for sure.
Absolutely. And I hear those same sentiments.
I bet you do all the time.
So those are areas where we have some ability to help mold that perception looking into the future,
right,
as part of the airport's operation out there. But the other piece is getting engaged and finding creative ways to stay engaged with the community. I mentioned we met with business leaders, but obviously businesses are a critical piece of utilizing the airport for their business travel, but we want the community to be able to use the airport for their leisure, friends and family visits, things of that nature as well. And so getting in front and participating, we host these awesome movie night events at the airport once a month over the summer. More than 1,500 people showed up just last week for that.
Yeah.
Finding those ways to get people out to the airport, get involved in aviation. That's how, when I was 16 years old, I stumbled into an airport job, and look at where it brought me today. How do we get that and get people out to the airport to enjoy this infrastructure that's theirs? This is community infrastructure. So and aviation is a lot of fun.
And you guys have been doing some really cool stuff. I think last October, you guys had a Halloween thing out there. That was before you were here, but it was really cool. Took the grandkids out there, and they just did trick-or-treating out through the hangars, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a neat experience. And I haven't done the movies yet, but I want to go do one of them.
So when you talk about 5,000 acres that you have out there, in comparison with most other airports, I don't know if I can even say our size because we're 5,000 acres, but is that exponentially more than most airports, or?
Yeah, it's probably triple the size of an airport.
Okay,
would
wow.
typically be our size. Of course, we have the Air and Army National Guard, so that takes up a piece of that.
Sure.
But really, all of our true operations are primarily on the east and south side of the airport, where the terminal, the guard, and the east side is where our general aviation activity is at. The west side is almost exclusively Enterprise Park, our industrial area, the air park. That's one of those areas where we've really got to emphasize the branding of that area. And so how do we get to a point where we are really leveraging and utilizing that tremendous resource we have to support the airport? When that area is successful, it helps us bring more services to the community in those other areas where they're more present typically.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give a quick plug because for Breeze Airways. So if you haven't, Lincoln, Omaha, if you haven't checked out Breeze, really cool airline. But the thing that blew me away, so I'm planning a trip to Florida, and I'm like, well, let's check out Orlando because it's nonstop. I'll take a nonstop just about anywhere. But to go first class, it was only like $140 more to go from coach to first class. I mean, $140, but usually it's $500-600, and for $140,
nice.
Usually I'm not going to spend money on first class, but for $140, I'm in, baby.
Well, it's nice to have airlines with first class now.
Yeah.
Coming out.
Yeah, right. No, totally agree. Well, I hear the music playing, and so we're out of time. But thanks for coming in, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. It was
Great
my
to
pleasure.
get to know you a little better.
All right. This has been Inside Business. Travis Filing, Gary Tharnish, and we will see you guys next weekend.